Do you find guys confusing because you have so little experience with them? Isn't it scary to feel like when you finally do meet a man, he'll have so much more experience than you that he'll be able to take advantage of you? But what if I told you I could share with you everything you need to know about having a boyfriend so that you're fully prepared? Join me in today's entire video so we can discuss the full breakdown of what it's like to have a boyfriend and everything you must look out for. That way, when you get into your first real relationship, you won't make any rookie mistakes. Our first point here is your state of mind. Now, what do I mean by your state of mind? I've drew out a little bit of a visual so we can all be on the same page. So let's imagine this is a filter. You know how you have water filters? This is a men filter. And in this filter, it's so important to understand how state of mind will affect your decision making when choosing a boyfriend. Because what's supposed to happen is when you're looking for a man that you're going to be in a relationship with, you're always filtering in all of these different men that will come in various different quality forms, right? So some will be high quality and some will be low quality. All of them are funneling into this man filter. And as they're funneling into this man filter, out comes just a few, hopefully, high quality men, right? And those high quality men are the only ones that are going to receive access to you. Now, just like a regular water filter, as you funnel a whole bunch of stuff in, only a little bit comes out because only a little bit is pure enough to actually exist on the other side of the filter. Everything else that is not pure, that is not good, will get caught in this funnel and get caught in this filter, which is exactly what you want. And so how does that relate to your state of mind? See, when you're in a state of mind, in a place of abundance in your soul and in your spirit, you will be very different in the way that you receive men and the way that you approach relationships. What do I mean by that? See, when you're in a place of lack, meaning you feel like a man is going to solve all your problems, being in a relationship is going to bring you happiness, that you can't have happiness in your life unless you have a boyfriend. This is a place of lack. This is a place of void. And this is when your spirit and your soul is at its least able to receive another healthy person. So how does that work here? See, this filter that's supposed to be happening with you and in your relationships will not be existing if you're in a state of mind where you think that having a man in your life is how you gain happiness. See, instead of this filter working how it's supposed to, where you have low quality men, you have high quality men, they get filtered in through this funnel and out come only the high quality men that fit the purity test. Instead of this happening properly, what will happen is, unlike a proper working filter, you'll have this version, right, of instead of it being a properly working funnel, it'll just be like an old nasty filter that lets in everything, okay? Because instead of looking for men who are actually high quality and you're testing them and making sure that those are the only ones that get access to you, every single type of man will fall through this filter and they'll go right down to the bottom here and they'll receive access to you. But the problem is, right, you'll have low, you'll have some high, you'll have some horrible, right? And you'll have all different types of men here, right? I'll even put M here. And all of these different types of men will be able to have access to you now because you don't have a proper working filter. So how does that work for you in state of mind? You must make sure before you ever start building a relationship with a man or ever think about getting a boyfriend, that you understand what happiness is for yourself, that you're in a place of abundance, that you have love through your family, through your friendships that are platonic, that are other women, right? That you have love existing in your life, that you feel needed, that you wake up to do something, to be something, that you have an identity. All of those things affect your state of mind. If you're in a place of lack, If you're in a place of, oh, I'm void of happiness, happiness doesn't exist in my life, this is not a time where you should be looking for a boyfriend. Because if you are looking for a boyfriend during this time, there will be no properly working filter. And instead of men being filtered and only coming out high quality men, you'll have all different types of men coming out of this so-called filter. And you'll receive any man into your life, no matter what he's like, no matter how he chooses to treat you. And what'll happen most of the time is, instead of even getting one of these high quality men, most of the time you'll end up with the low to horrible quality men, because those will be the first ones to come across your face and your life, and because those are the ones that are the most common existing around the world. Obviously, the high quality men are less common, which is why they're high quality, which means if your filter's not working properly, you're going to be inviting a lot of low quality men into your life, and subsequently a low quality boyfriend. Point number 2 is intention. Now, you have to understand, in choosing a boyfriend, this is not a game. This is not for funsies, and this is not for the plot, as the kids say. This is for your life. And you must choose a man. When you're making a man your boyfriend and he's making you his girlfriend, you must be very aware that certain types of men will lead you in certain types of places. In this visual that I'm giving you, I want you to understand how this works in reality. See, when you have all these different options of men, they're all different roads that you can choose to take. You can choose to take the road here to man number 2, or you can choose to take the road here to man number 1. But you have to understand, see, for you as a woman in your feminine energy, your job is to allow your man to lead you. It doesn't mean that you're not smart, intelligent, and have your own skill sets. It just means that in his masculine energy, he should be a leader, embody leadership qualities, and to be able to lead you as your man in this relationship. Now, when he's doing that and he's leading you, you have to understand, where is he even taking you? Because this is the thing, picking the wrong man and picking the wrong boyfriend will subsequently lead to allowing yourself to be led in the wrong direction. And if you think about what you want your outcome to be, what you want your destination to be, your ultimate destination is marriage. But you need to be with a man in order to get to that destination. And you also need to make sure you're picking the right man that will lead you to that destination. So what do I mean by that when I'm talking about intention? You must ensure, before you ever consider dating a man or having him become your boyfriend, that this man has the intention of leading the both of you to marriage. Because the reality of it is, you can't propose to yourself, okay? It'd be very weird. I think I seen a video of it one time on TikTok, but that was very weird, okay? And I don't want you doing that. I also don't want you being one of those desperate women who are on social media proposing to their man. That's embarrassing. I don't want you to be embarrassed like that, okay? Never in a million years, God forbid, you would ever get on one knee and propose to a man. I will never allow it. I will never allow it. What I want for you is to make sure you're picking the right man, though, so that he can lead you to the right destination. You don't need to beg for this. You shouldn't have to. And this shouldn't have to be something that you pull teeth for. But the problem is, if you choose a man like this, where will he lead you? He'll lead you to a destination that is completely unknown. He'll lead you to the middle of nowhere. That's why this is drawn like this. Because when a man doesn't have direction, when he doesn't know what he wants, when he doesn't have clarity for himself or his own life, he can't lead you to a damn place, because he can't even lead himself. So it's very important when you're dating men, from the very beginning, you're sure that what he wants out of you guys being boyfriend and girlfriend is for you guys to eventually become fiancés, and then you guys to eventually become husband and wife. If that's not what his intention is when it comes to dating you, if that's not what he's looking for when it comes to dating you, then you don't even bother making a man your boyfriend. Because you have to understand, men without intention that are just telling you, hey, we're just dating just because the vibes, okay? Men without intention, they'll lead you to the middle of nowhere. And when you're in the middle of nowhere, you'll be wondering why you wasted so much of your time and energy on a man who is literally taking you to a destination that you can't even name and you don't even know where you are, okay? When you're picking a boyfriend, only pick a man who has the intention of leading you to marriage, that wants marriage for himself and his own life. If that man does not want marriage for his own life and for himself, then you do not even bother making him your boyfriend. So point number 3 is about marriage. Now, I talked about this in the previous point, but I want you to understand specifically, why is marriage so important? Because some of you are thinking, well, Tomisin, me getting married is not a very big deal. I'm going to explain to you why this is so important. See, I'm drawing out this visual here as a mountain because there is a very important element to why marriage is the only way for you to build a healthy relationship with your boyfriend from the very start. See, along the way in your destination towards being with a man and having him as a boyfriend, you will come across bumps in your road, you'll come across issues in your relationships, you'll fight, you'll have disagreements, all of these things, and even at some point you might even break up for a little bit. All of these things will create a scenario in which being in a relationship is a lot harder than you anticipated. It's not as easy as just saying, I love you, I want to be with you, I want this thing to work, and it just working. But the thing about it is, see, when both of you are of the same understanding that you're shooting for the same peak point, that's why this is drawn as a mountain. Because when you think about how a mountain works, the very tippity top is the place where all of these 2 different points of the mountain finally converge into one peak that is all aligned. And that's what I want for you. See, when you're shooting towards the same ultimate goal, even when you have these fights, even when you have these disagreements, even if sometimes you might break up and take a little break in your relationship, as long as the 2 of you are working together to work towards the same peak point, you guys are able to keep each other accountable. You guys are able to work through problems. You guys are able to understand how to compromise. And you're also able to keep an understanding of the bigger picture, which is such an important part to having a boyfriend. Because the reality of it is, it's not always going to be as fun as you see on Euphoria, okay? It's not always going to look like that. It's not always going to feel like that. It's not always going to be those type of vibes, as the kids say, all right? And if it's not always going to be like that, we have to come up with a strategy and a plan in place that will actually make it possible for you to endure all of the things that will go on in a relationship, as well as him, while you guys are working towards the same point. And the only way to stay motivated, because never forget this, motivation is such an important part to having a successful relationship. You're not going to wake up every single day and be ecstatic that this guy is your boyfriend. Sometimes he's going to pee you off. Sometimes you're going to pee him off. Sometimes you guys are going to disagree or not see eye to eye. That's perfectly fine. And it's okay, and you can work through it as long as you're working towards the same peak point. Now, the other very important part to why marriage needs to be your peak point, even from the very beginning with your boyfriend, when you guys have disagreements and he is not showing up for you in this relationship how you need a man to show up for you, or vice versa, it's very important that there is a level of accountability that exists in your relationship. Because if accountability, I'll just put it here as ACC, if accountability is not existing on both of your parts, you guys will not be able to solve problems. You guys will not be able to resolve conflict. You guys will not be able to work together and compromise in order to meet your goal. Because there won't be a goal. And that's the problem when you start a relationship with a guy and you make him your boyfriend without any end goal in mind. Not only does he have to have a level of intention, like we talked about in the previous point, to lead you there, but there also has to be a joint understanding of what you're both working towards in order for you guys to even work towards that. And be okay with going through the hard times and the parts that aren't going to be as magical in order to get to where you want to go. Very, very important. You guys are shooting for the same collective goal. If you're not going to be doing this right. You're going to be very confused and down the line, because trust me, in your feminine energy, it's very confusing for you when you don't have clarity. Down the line, as the months and the years go by and he's still just your boyfriend, you're going to be feeling like you need more. You're going to be feeling like you're searching for more, but you're not going to know what that more is unless you have that peak point. Point number 4 is about choice. Now, what do I specifically mean the choice here is? You have to understand, The most important decision you will ever make in your entire life is who you choose as a partner. I don't want to scare you. Well, I do want to scare you. I want you to never forget the importance of picking the right man. Because like I mentioned in a previous point where we talked about getting a guy with intention because he's going to be leading you, this is such an important part of everything else that's going to happen for the rest of your life. Just like getting in a random car, right? You have no idea where this car is going. You have no idea where the destination is. So it's very important that you have as much information as you possibly can on who the person is driving, what their intention is, what their driving history is, how many crashes they've been in, how many, how much vision they have. Do they have 20/20 vision or do they have horrible vision? What they eat last night, are they feeling sick? Are they feeling under the weather? The reason for that is because car number one, theoretically, could be driving you off a ditch, okay? Right? And car number two could be driving you to a land, let me draw this right, a land of gold, right? Car number two could be taking you somewhere special. And car number one could literally be unaliving you, right? The reason I say this is because you have no idea what men are capable of. You have no idea who they are until you take some time to meet them. So what I don't want for you to do is to rush this choice, because it is a choice, and rush how important it is to pick the right man. One, you can end up wasting many years of your life if you do not choose the right person, which can be detrimental to your life. And number two, you can end up being in a position in your life where now this man is tied to you in ways where you really can't get rid of him. And he can be like a cancer or a thorn that prevents you from ever living out your dreams or ever reaching your full potential, i.e. you get pregnant by car number one. You get pregnant by this type of guy that'll drive you into a ditch or drive you to the point where you're going crazy and you're getting unalived, right? I don't mean unalived physically and literally, I mean unalived in terms of your spirit, killing your spirit, taking your energy, taking your youth, taking your time, all of that stuff that's so important to you. And you have to be very aware of how important the choice is and take your time with this choice. Don't rush into trying to have a boyfriend. Make sure when men are speaking to you, when they're talking about themselves, when they're talking about their life, when they're talking about what they want, when they're talking about their intention, you sit there and you listen intently to figure out, who is this man? What is he about? Is he prepared to show up for me how I need a man to show up for me? And is he taking me to the destination that I actually want to be in? Because if this man isn't the man that I'm looking for, if he doesn't have the character traits that I want, if my life is not going to be better by being with this type of man, then I can't pick this type of man. Because remember what I talked to you earlier about your state of mind. It's very important that you're in a state where you're in abundance already before that man ever meets you. That way, when you're picking your choice of men, when you're deciding who you actually want to be with, you're making sure to analyze men, ask them a lot of questions. Never, ever assume that you know as much as you can possibly know, and always be in a place of curiosity where you're trying to learn more about the person, right? I want for you, and for this point, to be about you understanding how important the choice is, but also understanding how important your curiosity is. That when you're making the choice, the only way to get your answer or get closer to the answer of whether or not this man is the right choice is by asking questions and never stopping yourself from being curious about learning more about that person. How do you learn more? By talking to him, by listening to him, right? Listening to what he says, talking to his friends, listening to what they say, talking to his family, listening to what they say, and gathering all this information of what you see with your eyes and what you observe of him in your relationship and better understanding what he's really about, okay? Because a lot of guys will come up to you and tell you anything that you want to hear from the very beginning. But part of making a good choice is realizing who this guy really is, that you're not confused. And by the time you do make a choice to make him your boyfriend, remember you're shooting towards marriage, you're actually quite sure that what you've seen of him so far is exactly what you're looking for the type of man that you want to end up in the destination of marriage with. Point number 5 is about pressure. Now, what is the pressure that I'm referring to? See, there's a thing that can happen in your friendships with your other girlfriends where, because boys can be such a center of conversation, that all of you as women can start to base your value off of, are you in a relationship or not? And you can all start to feed off of each other in your friendships where it's like, oh, I'm in a relationship, so clearly I'm a valuable woman. You're a single mama, so clearly the guys aren't as fond of you. And this can start to become a toxic cycle that I want to warn you about, because this can start to create a lot of subconscious pressure on you. What do I mean by that? See, here's the thing. When you have friends who are in your single box, and they're in the same position as you, where they don't have a man, they might be dating, but they're not specifically in a relationship. Things can be fine. You get to go out, you get to have fun, you get to party, do your thing. But as one friend exits the single box and is no longer part of this group of women who are not in a relationship, this box gets just a little bit smaller, because she's all the way out here, right? Your friend is out here now. But the thing about it is, see, now that your box is a little bit smaller, it's now a little bit tighter in here. It's a little bit more uncomfy in here to be single. It was fun when the box was large, but now you're feeling a little bit claustrophobic. And then one horrible, horrible day, your other friend also exits the single box. And this is a major problem for you, because now your other friend is out here with a man, and this is not going to be very comfortable for you, because now your single box has been reduced to damn near nothing. And it's very uncomfortable now. It's just you here. Meanwhile, your friends are all attached to other men. And this creates a lot of subconscious pressure on you that, oh my God, I'm the only one of all of my girlfriends who's still single. I'm the only one going on all of these tragic dates. I'm the only one who, when it's cold outside, I have no one to spend time with because all my girls are cuddled up with their men. I'm the only one in the group chat with all of these horrible Hinge stories and Bumble stories. Meanwhile, all of them are in happy, healthy relationships, deciding when they're going to go to the Christmas market with their man and building gingerbread houses. And see, all of this subconscious pressure will create a scenario for you where you feel like you need to just find someone, find anyone. And the problem with this pressure is it will create a whole lot of this right here. It will create a whole lot of desperation on your part and in your energy. And you'll begin to ooze out of your pores desperation in the way that you talk, in the way that you walk, in the way that you go about life and approach everything in your life. And the men will be receiving that from you, because in your mind, every single date that you have with the man, every single interaction that you have with the man, every single flirt that you have with the guy will feel like, oh my God, please, please, please ask for my number. Please, 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 let's be in a relationship so I can finally exit the single box. I don't want to be in the single box anymore. It's so small. It's so claustrophobic. I can't breathe anymore. Nobody's here to support me. I want to be in a relationship. And all of that pressure you're putting on yourself will make you very repulsive to the men that you're dating, even the men that would have liked you if you were just your normal self. But the problem with all of this subconscious pressure, it'll put you in a place where you become very unattractive. So what I want for you to do is, when you're in the process of having this experience where friends are starting to get into their relationships and they're starting to go about their business and you're the last one single, I want you to remind yourself, you will have your time. Your time is going to come when you are going to be in your own happy, healthy relationship. But you need to fixate yourself, not on trying to force a relationship to happen because your friends have found theirs. You need to fixate yourself on making sure that you're in an abundant spiritual place in your mind and in your soul. That when you do meet this good guy, that you're energetically able to receive a healthy man and you're not allowing men to filter through that are low quality and are not what you're looking for. Because it's better for you to be in this single box with no responsibilities or worries than for you to be here in a relationship with a low quality man, stressed out, and then getting your time wasted and your energy sucked out of you, okay? Not in a hot way, okay, right? Point number 6 is about happiness, because understanding how happiness is managed in a relationship is such an important part of having your first boyfriend and having a successful relationship. So what do I mean by that? See, I don't want you to make the mistake, these two are cups here, of pouring into your man's cup so much that because of how much you want him to be overflowing and how good you want him to feel, that your cup is essentially empty while his cup is filled to the brim, okay? Now, obviously, this is an analogy, but what am I referring to when I'm talking about filling up his cup? See, in this case, the liquid, right, instead of it being energy or being water here, is actually energy, right? When you pour into someone, you're investing your time and your energy into them, right? So for you as a woman, what does that look like? Cooking for him, cleaning for him, being there for him emotionally, supporting him, calling him, sleeping with him, giving him some good, Squirtle, some good, box, some good, whatever you want to call it, all right? And having him have access to you, having him have access to your emotions, being able to support him, all that good stuff that you will do for a man in nurturing him and taking care of him. As you do that, right, you're pouring into him. You're giving him energy. You're giving him life. And as you do that, you're also subsequently draining yourself of all of that life, of all of that energy. But the problem is, when you start draining yourself of all of that energy and your man is not properly pouring himself also into you, you're going to constantly be in a cycle where you're drained. And as you get just the tiniest little bit of energy back for yourself, you immediately are forced to pour it back into him and you're back at nothing. Okay? And see, this is the thing about happiness, because this can become a vicious cycle. For you as a woman in your feminine energy, you have a natural innate desire to take care of your man and want to do your best for him so that he's happy. But the problem is, if you become too fixated on his happiness, you'll forget that your own happiness is also relevant. And very important, if you choose the wrong man, and you choose a man who doesn't care about your happiness, who's very selfish with his energy and only allows you to pour into him and is never interested in pouring into you, you'll constantly be in a cycle where you're empty. And as you fill your cup up, he siphons energy and life away from you again. And you're constantly feeling like, I'm drained all the time of my energy. I'm drained all the time of my life force. I'm drained all the time of me. And I feel like I pour every morsel and atom of my being into that man. And that man never pours back into me. You have to figure out as a woman, when you get into a relationship and even before you get into a relationship, what is your happiness and how are you going to sustain that no matter who is in your life? How do you build a life for yourself where happiness exists with a man or without a man? And even when you get into a relationship, this is the most important part. You have to understand how to balance your energy in a way where you can be in this relationship and still yourself have a full cup. And also be very aware of when you do pour into your man, pouring into him just enough that he can get some energy from you, but not so much that you leave yourself drained. Okay? There's nothing wrong with giving some energy to your man. There's nothing wrong with doing for your man and your eventual boyfriend. But what you will not do is you will not drain yourself of your life force and your energy by pouring all of it into that man. You have to learn how to manage your energy, manage your happiness, and allow him to do him sometimes, because you have to take care of yourself. And that man that you choose, because you have filtered, should also be pouring into you as well. It shouldn't just be a one-way street where you're only looking to serve his happiness. You know how they have the term happy wife, happy life? Yeah, there's a reason for that. Because your man, even in his masculine energy, should also have a desire to pour into your cup as well, so that you're full at times as well. And this dynamic goes back and forth. You help each other continue to be full on an ongoing basis. Point number 7 is about attraction. Now, something very important I want you to understand about attraction, because in having your first boyfriend, I don't want you to be mistaken in what attraction is, how it works, and how it will actually manifest itself in your relationship. So the mistake that you're gonna make a lot of the times is thinking that attraction starts with down here, that this is wet, turned on, ready to go based on how attractive this guy is and how he looks to you. Does he have a six-pack? Is he tall? Does he have lots of muscles? But the reality of it is, in having your first boyfriend and having all of your relationships after that, what I want you to focus on, and I want you to recognize is the most important part of attraction, is not what's going on down here. It's actually what's going on up here. Setting the right dynamic, setting the right situation for yourself, choosing the right partner is such an important part to receiving the things that will actually turn you on the most. Because for you as a woman, the way that you get turned down here is by making sure that everything is in order up here. So I've drawn out some things that are important here, right? The fantasy, right? Does he fulfill your fantasy of feeling like, oh, I'm with the man? I'm with a man who can take control. I'm with a man, and I'm not talking about take control in even a sexual way. I'm talking about take control in a non-sexual way. Do I feel like I'm with a man, right? And this is part of feeling like, hey, I'm with a masculine man. I'm with a manly man. I'm with a hunter. I'm not with a soy boy, right? This is part of what will turn you on. This being with the masculine man is also going to put you in your feminine. As you feel more and deeper in your feminine, you're going to feel more seductive. Things are going to work better. You're going to feel sexy. When you look in the mirror, you're going to turn yourself on. That's actually a good thing. That's part of being in your feminine. As that is happening and you feel desired by your masculine man and he's treating you well, giving you princess treatment, all of this will be working itself and massaging itself in your mind, and it's going to create all of this lubrication going down in between your legs. So I don't want you to underestimate how attraction plays a role in your relationships, but not from the standpoint of how good does this guy look, from the standpoint of all these other mental and kind of spiritual things that will be going on in your relationship that really, really matter for the future and longevity of attraction in your relationship. So what I want you to focus on when trying to get your first boyfriend, and when you finally do, is not be so focused on, oh, does he turn me on simply by how he looks? But be focused on, does he turn me on by how my mind feels about him, what I think about him, the dynamic of our relationship, what I feel from him, the treatment I get from him? Do I feel desire? Do I feel deep in my feminine when I'm around him? Because I promise you, as time goes on, no matter how good he looks, no matter how much of a six-pack he has, eventually this will stop working if this isn't properly connected. Trust you, me. No matter how good looking that guy is, no matter how sexy he is, eventually, when you stop feeling the right dynamic, when you stop feeling the right connection, when you stop feeling the right bond and safeness that you're supposed to feel in your feminine energy with a masculine man, this will stop working inadvertently and you'll become very, very, very confused. Number 8 is about values, because one of the most important parts of finding the right boyfriend is also about understanding how to find a man who is aligned with you in the most important parts of your relationship. And what do I mean by that? See, there are, of course, things that you can compromise on in a relationship in terms of your preferences, what you might deem to be perfect in your ideal perfect world, but some things you can compromise on and you can work with as it relates to meeting someone and building a connection with them. But what is very important to understand is the things that you are not willing to budge on. And what I don't want for you to do is make the mistake of only thinking about, hey, does this guy like me? Do I like our vibes? The kids love vibes, okay? Vibes is gonna ruin your life. And not thinking about the logistics of, are we sharing the same values for what we envision our life to be like? What does that look like here? See, if you're building a connection with a guy, and in this connection, let's say for the sake of example, you've been dating a guy for a couple of months and you ask him about what he wants for his future. And he tells you, yeah, by the way, I like dating and I like to be in a relationship, but I don't want any children. And you're thinking in your mind, well, since I've been a little girl, I've always wanted 4 kids. And I know that me in the future as a wife is going to be a mother to at least 4 children. That's how I envision my life. I can't even imagine what my life would be like having no children. This is not something you can compromise on. And this is a core value of yours, right? To you, having a family is important. To him, it's not something that he really wants or needs in his life. There is no way for you guys to compromise on these viewpoints. What do I mean by that? You can't have half a child. Okay, it's not going to work. You can't raise a child until he's 8 and then give him back and just be like, all right, we rented out the child, we're going to give him back. It doesn't work like that. You raise a child, it's your child forever. So the thing about it is that if you guys are opposed in terms of your values in key places that I call pillars, right? You're going to have pillars for yourself in your life, like values and morals. He's going to have his own pillars, his own values and morals that are very important and strong and immovable. Before you start dating a man and decide if he's going to be your boyfriend and say okay to being his girlfriend, you must be sure that you guys share the same values in terms of what you want for your future and for your life and for the future of your family. There are some very key elements of places in a relationship that if you two are not completely aligned in those places, there is no compromise. And you need to be honest with yourself if you're dating a man that doesn't share your same values, or if you're entertaining a man that doesn't share your same values, because no matter how much you try and build this connection out, if you two are misaligned in places like these, this connection will never work out. Never in a million years. You are always going to eventually come to a crossroads where you're going to break up, or things are just going to become really treacherous really fast because you guys can't come to a compromise on something that is uncompromisable. Okay? And I need you to understand that and be honest with yourself about that when you're meeting men and asking them questions, because if they tell you something like this and you know for yourself you need this, you're not going to change what you need for this man, and you're not going to change your values, because what will happen down the line, even if you try and ignore it and say it's not important, eventually you'll get to a crossroads where you'll say, I really need this, and I need you to see it my way. And he's going to say, I can't do that. I need you to see it my way. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you say, this is a waste of both of our times, because we're never going to be able to agree on this. And you're only going to end up going in circles trying to come to a compromise on something that is not compromisable. Point number 9 is about friends and families. What I want you to understand in dating men is that you have to do the order of operations correctly. Please, I beg you, I love you, I care about you, and I want success for you in your relationships. Do not make the mistake of being with a man and allowing him to be your boyfriend when you haven't gone through the proper order of operations to get to that end goal. What do I mean by that? You start off dating a guy, going out on dates with him and enjoying your time with him, okay? More or less. Seeing him, spending time with him, hearing what he has to say about himself, his life, and how he feels and how he's going to go about that. Then you get to a point where you meet some of his outside or inner circle. You meet some friends, you meet some coworkers, you meet some people that know him. You get to have some conversations with them about him and see if a lot of the stuff that he told you about himself on the dates that you guys went on is actually verifiable. It should be when you get to this point. If it's not, we have a whole different problem, and he shouldn't even end up being your boyfriend. Then you get to a point where you meet some of his family. That way you can confirm the family that he told you he had, he actually has that. And in one way, shape, or another, you meet those family, whether it be on FaceTime, whether it be in person, and have a conversation with them that you also do a secondary confirmation of all the things that he told you on these dates. And you make sure that everything is in alignment between who he told you he was from the beginning and who you know him to be after meeting his friends and after meeting his family. There should not be, listen to me very carefully, there should not be a complete misalignment between who you thought he was when you guys started going out on dates and what you now understand him to be after meeting his friends and meeting his family. Do not allow yourself to become a man's girlfriend until you meet the friends and the family. In no way, shape, or form are you saying yes to being with someone that you eventually want to get married to if you have not met his friends and his family. You will end up being what I call a ghost girlfriend. A ghost girlfriend is a girlfriend in which no one knows about you and you don't know about anyone else. And so there's a separation and an isolation between you and the outside world. You have no way of confirming if anything he told you on these dates is actually true. You have no way of confirming if the character that he's been presenting to you is actually his real life character as it relates to how the outside world sees him or knows him. You have no way of confirming if he's been lying to you this entire time and pulling the wool over your eyes. So until you do this order of operations and do it correctly, you will not allow a man to be your boyfriend, meaning you won't say yes to being his girlfriend until you check off all of these different checkpoints. And inside these checkpoints, there is still a lot of information that you're going to be getting specifically at each of these individual times. That is so important to finally getting to this final stage, which I've talked about in other shows. You cannot neglect this process. There is a specific reason, just like a recipe, that you're going to add things in and do things at specific times. Don't let yourself become a girlfriend before you're meeting family and friends, because once you start doing it backwards, you're going to notice a lot of weird things. You're going to notice a lot of inconsistencies, and you're going to notice a lot of things that you may have said to yourself, if I would have known this before, maybe I wouldn't have chosen this guy. Remember how I told you how important choice is? If I would have known some of these things before, maybe I wouldn't have even bothered dating him. Maybe I wouldn't have even went on a second date with him if I knew these things from before. But you have to give yourself time to learn these things about him. And a lot of that very valuable and key information is only going to come from meeting the friends and family, which is why you have to do it first before you ever say yes to being his girlfriend and allowing him to be your boyfriend. Point number 10 is about comparison. This can be one of the most dangerous parts of being in a relationship when you finally do get a boyfriend. See, having a boyfriend is great and it's awesome and it's fun until you start realizing that other people are also in relationships. And you'll start having things happen in your relationships that are not so fun. You'll start to fight, right? You'll have disagreements, you'll have arguments, you'll have things that you'll realize he doesn't do, right? And you'll have things that you realize that man has flaws. But this is a problem. Because what will happen, especially with today's age in social media, you'll see other women will say they get a lot. You'll see other women with men who seem to be perfect. And you'll see other women get treatment that maybe you haven't have gotten before, or maybe you haven't received from him. And you'll see their relationship looks perfect. And see, while it's not bad to recognize, hey, maybe I'm in the wrong relationship with the wrong guy because I'm not receiving what I need, what is also very bad is how comparison will literally steal your joy. They have a saying that comparison is the thief of joy, because when you're comparing your life and especially your relationship to the relationship and especially the highlights of other people's relationship, you will never be able to be happy with the happiness that exists in your relationship. I want you to understand something very important. It's not about thinking to yourself, hey, I'm just going to be perfectly fine if my man treats me like garbage and I'm not getting anything I need. It's not about that. It's about understanding, am I in a place where the most important things to me I am receiving from this man? Is he trying? Is he intentional? Can I hold him accountable in this relationship? Do we have accountability in our relationship? Are we striving to the same end goal? Okay, if those things that are really important to me, if my pillars are satisfied, if my values are satisfied, if my desire for him is satisfied, right? I'm not going to look to the extravagance that other people are existing in the highlights of their life that I see on social media, which is not necessarily representative of all the fights they have, all the things that that guy doesn't do, and all the ways that their relationship is not perfect, right? Because they're never going to show me that. They don't want me to see that. It's their highlights. I'm not going to allow myself to feel like I have less than, to feel like my relationship isn't good, and to steal my own joy from myself and my ability to enjoy my man and enjoy my relationship. Because one thing that you have to recognize about men, and before you get your first boyfriend, is men will tend to snowball in whatever direction you think of them and talk to them as. What do I mean by that? As you believe in your mind that you have an ain't poop man, your man can't do nothing for you, he's a useless man, so shall it be. And you'll speak to your man as if he's a useless man. You'll speak to your man as if he falls short in all the different ways that these other men with long schlongs that can penetrate their woman never fall short, right? And you're going to start to emasculate your man over time. But the problem is, if you really feel like that man is falling short and treating you like garbage, your choice should not be to continue complaining about how he treats you like garbage. Your choice should be to leave him if it's really that bad. But the problem is, if your complaint of him is that he's not as perfect as these other people seem and these other men seem that you see on social media in relationships with your favorite Instagram model, well, then now we have a problem, because you're not making a decision to leave him, but you're also making him feel like he ain't doing nothing for you. And with men, it's very strange. They will tend to snowball in whatever way you speak to them and talk to them. So as you tell him he can't do nothing for you and he's a garbage man and he's such a useless man, so shall it be. He continues to be garbage and he continues to be useless to you. So you have to understand, having a boyfriend is a very delicate balance. It's a choice, and there's a lot of decisions to be made leading up to this. And when you finally get here, you have to make sure that you made all the right decisions leading up to this to make the right choice. And when you make the right choice, I don't want you to look to what other people are doing or not doing. And I want you to focus on centering into yourself and asking yourself a very important question. Am I happy with the man that I chose?